Arab nationalism emerged as a defining political and ideological force in the 20th century. It was driven by a shared desire for unity, independence, and dignity among Arab people. The movement tried to rise above colonial borders and create a unified Arab national consciousness as it was rooted in a common language, culture, and history. The period from the end of the Second World War to the 1990s witnessed the rise and fall of Arab nationalism. It was shaped by charismatic leaders, regional conflicts, and geopolitical transformations. The end of the Second World War marked a turning point for the Arab world. European colonial powers, weakened by the war, began to lose their grip on the Middle East and North Africa. Arab nations, many of which had been under British or French control, sought independence and self-determination. The idea of Arab unity gained traction, fueled by anti-colonial sentiment and the shared experience of foreign domination. The post-war period saw a wave of anti-colonial movements across the Arab world. These struggles were usually led by military officers, intellectuals, and political activists who saw Arab nationalism as a path to liberation and modernization. Egypt, under the monarchy of King Farouk, was a focal point of anti-colonial sentiment. The presence of British troops in the Suez Canal zone and the subservience of the monarchy to foreign powers fueled nationalist fervor. The Free Officers movement, led by Gamal Abdel Nasser, emerged as a key force that advocated for independence and social reform. In Syria and Lebanon, French colonial rule faced growing resistance. Syrian nationalists were inspired by the idea of Arab unity. They sought to end French control and establish an independent state. The withdrawal of French troops in 1946 marked a significant victory for the nationalist movement. In Iraq, the monarchy was seen as a puppet of British interests. The 1958 revolution, led by General Abdul Karim Qasim, overthrew the monarchy and established a republic. The revolution was driven by nationalist and socialist ideals and reflected the broader trends in the Arab world. In North Africa, countries like Algeria, Tunisia, and Morocco waged fierce struggles against French colonial rule. The Algerian War of Independence 1954 to 1962 was particularly brutal, with nationalist groups like the NLF, National Liberation Front, leading the fight for freedom. The establishment of the Arab League in 1945 was an early attempt to foster cooperation among Arab states. While the League aimed to promote political, economic, and cultural collaboration, it also reflected the growing desire for Arab unity. The Arab League was founded on the principles of sovereignty, independence, and non-interference in internal affairs. Its charter emphasized the importance of Arab solidarity and collective action. Despite its higher goals, the Arab League faced significant challenges. The organization struggled to reconcile the diverse interests of its member states, and its effectiveness was usually undermined by internal divisions. The 1950s and 1960s were dominated by the rise of Gamal Abdel Nasser, the charismatic leader of Egypt, who became the face of Arab nationalism. Nasser's vision of pan-Arabism, combined with his anti-imperialist stance, resonated across the Arab world. Nasser came to power in 1952 after leading a coup that overthrew King Farouk. The revolution marked the end of British influence in Egypt and the beginning of a new era of Arab nationalism. The Free Officers movement, a group of nationalist military officers, organized the coup. Nasser was not initially the public face of the movement but quickly emerged as its leader. The new government implemented land reforms and social justice programs aimed at reducing inequality and modernizing Egyptian society. These policies made Nasser loved by the masses and solidified his popularity. Nasser's charisma and policies were central to his appeal. He was a master orator who could connect with ordinary people, and his policies reflected a commitment to social justice and national dignity. Nasser's socialist economic policies were a cornerstone of his vision for Arab nationalism and modernization. Nasser sought to reduce Egypt's dependence on foreign powers and create a self-sufficient economy that could serve as a model for the Arab world. His policies included the nationalization of key industries, land reforms, and state-led industrialization. In 1961, Nasser implemented sweeping nationalization measures. He took control of banks, insurance companies, and large industries, which were previously dominated by foreign and domestic elites. These measures aimed to redistribute wealth and reduce economic inequality that were a central principle of his socialist agenda. Land reforms, which limited land ownership and redistributed agricultural land to peasants, were particularly popular among the rural poor and helped solidify Nasser's support base. Additionally, Nasser invested heavily in infrastructure projects such as construction of the Aswan High Dam, which symbolized Egypt's technological and economic progress. These policies were not just about economic development. They were also deeply tied to the goals of Arab nationalism. By reducing foreign influence and promoting social justice, Nasser sought to create a strong, independent Egypt that could lead the Arab world towards unity and self-determination. Nasser's ideology of pan-Arabism called for the unification of Arab states under a single political entity. He envisioned a united Arab world that could resist Western imperialism and assert its independence on the global stage. In 1958, Egypt and Syria merged to form the United Arab Republic. It was a short-lived union that symbolized the potential of Arab unity. Although the United Arab Republic dissolved in 1961, it inspired similar efforts across the Arab world. Nasser was a leading figure in the non-aligned movement, which sought to create a third bloc of nations independent of both the Western and Eastern blocs during the Cold War. His participation in the 1955 Bandung Conference established his status as a global leader of anti-colonialism. Music and art played a pivotal role in promoting Arab nationalist consciousness during the Nasser era. Iconic singers like Kulthum and Abdul Halim Hafiz became the cultural ambassadors of Arab nationalism. Their voices echoed the aspirations of millions across the world. Kulthum, often referred to as the voice of Egypt, was not just a singer but a symbol of Arab unity and resilience. Her concerts, broadcast across the Arab world, drew millions of listeners and created a sense of shared cultural experiences. Songs like Wallahi Zaman Ya Silahi, By God, It's Been a Long Time, O Weapon of Mine, which became Egypt's national anthem, and Amal Hayati, Hope of My Life, resonated deeply with themes of struggle, hope, and national pride. Similarly, Abdul Halim Hafiz's emotional charged performances and patriotic songs such as Surah, The Picture, captured the spirit of the era. Visual artists and filmmakers also contributed to the nationalist movement. They produced works that celebrated Arab history, resistance, and unity. These cultural expressions were not merely entertainment, they were powerful tools for mobilizing public sentiment and fostering a collective Arab identity. Through music and art, Nasser's Egypt projected a vision of Arab nationalism that was both deeply rooted in tradition and forward-looking, inspiring generations to dream of a united and independent Arab world. Nasser's nationalization of the Suez Canal in 1956 was a defining moment. The subsequent invasion of Britain, France, and Israel was met with international criticism, and Nasser emerged as a hero in the Arab world. Nasser's decision to nationalize the Suez Canal was a bold assertion of Egyptian sovereignty. The movement was celebrated across the Arab world as a victory against the imperialism. The subsequent invasion of Egypt by Britain, France, and Israel was met with widespread condemnation. The United States and the Soviet Union both pressured the invaders to withdraw, and Nasser's defiance earned him immense popularity. Nasser's influence extended far beyond Egypt. He inspired nationalist movements across the Arab world and became a symbol of resistance against imperialism. Nasser provided support to liberation movements in Algeria, Yemen, and other parts of the Arab world. His backing of these movements reinforced his image as a champion of Arab nationalism. In Syria, the Ba'ath Party came to power in 1963, which shared Nasser's vision of Arab unity and socialism. The Syrian Ba'athists, led by figures like Salah Jadid and Hafiz al-Assad, aligned closely with Nasser's Egypt. They formed a short-lived union under the United Arab Republic from 1958 to 1961. Although the United Arab Republic dissolved, Syria continued to champion Arab nationalism and became a key player in the lead up to the 1967 war. Similarly, in Iraq, the Ba'ath Party, which rose to prominence in the 1960s, adopted Nasserist rhetoric and policies and emphasized Arab unity and opposition to Western influence. In Yemen, Nasser's support for Republican forces during the North Yemen Civil War 1962 to 1970 further extended his influence, though it also entangled Egypt in a costly and divisive conflict. These leaders and movements, while inspired by Nasser, usually pursued their own agendas, which led to tensions and rivalries that undermined the unity which Nasser sought to achieve. In the context of the 1967 war, this lack of cohesion proved disastrous. Despite public declarations of solidarity, the Arab coalition was plagued by mistrust and conflicting interests. For example, Jordan's King Hussein, though nominally aligned with Egypt and Syria, had his own territorial ambitions in the West Bank, while Syria's leadership was divided and hesitant to fully commit to the war effort. The failure of these Nasser-inspired regimes to coordinate effectively during the war highlighted the limitations of pan-Arabism as a unifying force and exposed the gap between rhetoric and reality. The 1967 defeat not only weakened Nasser's stature but also dealt a blow to the credibility of Arab nationalist leaders who had copied him, which led to a crisis of confidence in the movement as a whole. Gamal Abdel Nasser occupies an unparalleled place in Egyptian history and Arab consciousness as a symbol of dignity, resistance, and aspiration. In Egypt, he is remembered as the leader who liberated the country from foreign domination, modernized its institutions, and empowered its people through sweeping social and economic reforms. His nationalization of the Suez Canal in 1956 and his defiance during the subsequent tripartite aggression by Britain, France, and Israel established his status as a hero of anti-colonialism. Nasser's vision of pan-Arabism resonated deeply across the Arab world, where he became a unifying figure for millions who yearned for independence, unity, and self-determination. His speeches, filled with fiery rhetoric and calls for Arab solidarity, were broadcast across the region, inspiring movements for liberation and reform. Nasser's emphasis on social justice, education, and industrialization left a lasting legacy in Egypt, transforming it into a regional powerhouse and a beacon of progress. However, his legacy is also marked by contradictions and challenges, including the failure of United Arab Republic, the devastating defeat in the 1967 war, and the authoritarian tendencies of his regime. Despite these setbacks, Nasser's impact on Arab consciousness endures. He remains a towering figure who embodied the hopes and struggles of a generation, and his name continues to evoke pride and nostalgia for a time when the Arab world dared to dream of unity and greatness. For many, Nasser represents not just a historical figure but an enduring ideal of Arab resilience and ambition.